Hello. Hello. Good evening, candidates. Good evening, candidates. Now, today, unfortunately, I forgot about the timing of this class, and I was not there. So people might have waited there, and they must have gone. So I thought it is occasion for me to tell you about some of the questions that are definitely asked in the interviews. So, for example, we can go to SBI 2023 SBI folder, and in that we can go through CTDI magazine January 2023. February 23 is not here. Yeah. Now, if people come, then we can discuss about it. In fact, I told the people to be ready about, say, olive board material on economics, olive board material on economics. I wanted them to be ready for the economic reforms. Yeah, this is the book I suggested yesterday, candidates to be ready for the class. Unfortunately, the class could not be conducted because I came late. So, no problem. I will just tell you some of the points that are covered here. Economic reforms, about economic reforms in India. Economic reforms in India refer to the new liberal policies introduced by the Narasimha Rao government in 1991 when India faced a severe economic crisis due to external debt. This crisis happened largely due to inefficiency in economic management in 1980s. The revenues that the government was generating were not enough to meet the expenses. Hence, it had to make hefty borrowings from foreign banks to pay the debt. Hence, they were caught up in a debt trap. To curb this, to curb To curb this crisis, India approached the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund for the loan and received $7 million to manage the crisis. As a result of which, these international organizations expected India to open its door to trade with the other countries by removing the strict reserve restrictions that were being followed hitherto. Hence, adopted. Hence, India adopted, say, the LPG liberalization, privatization, and globalization reforms under the economic reforms. Let us look at each one of them. Liberalization. Liberalization was brought about with an idea that any regulations or restrictions that were imposed on free trade must loosen up its grip to allow trade. It allowed opening up economic borders for foreign investments and multinational corporations. Several economic reforms that were imposed under the liberalization include expansion of production capacity, deservicing producing areas, abolishing industrial licensing by the government, and freedom to import goods. Economic liberalization in India refers to the economic liberalization of the country's economic policies with the goal of making the economy more market and service oriented. Indian economic liberalization was part of general pattern of economic liberalization, modernization occurring across the world. Although unsuccessful attempts at liberalization were made in 96 and the early 1980s, a more thorough liberalization was initiated in 91. I think it must be in 76. I think this year is wrong. The reform was prompted by balance of payments crisis that had led to the severe recession. That had led to the severe recession. Yeah. Uh, Brief about liberalization of 1991. The collapse of the Chandrasekhar government in the midst of the crisis and the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi led to the election of a new Congress government led by P.V. Narasimha Rao. He selected Amarnath Verma to be his principal secretary and Manmohan Singh to be finance minister and gave them complete support in doing whatever they thought was necessary to solve the crisis. Verma helped draft the new industrial policy alongside Chief Economic Advisor Rakesh Mohan, and it laid out a plan to foster Indian industry in 5 points. People have come here. Anybody has come? No, nobody has come. I am available on Zoom. If some of you are interested, you can come and join using the code that you have. Firstly, it abolished the license Raj by removing license restrictions for all industries except for 18. To incentivize foreign investment, it laid out a plan to pre-approve all investments up to 51% of foreign equity participation. To further incentivize technological advancement, old policy of government approval for foreign technology agreement was scrapped. The fourth point proposed to dismantle public monopolies by floating shares of public sector companies and limiting public sector growth to essential infrastructure, goods and services, mineral exploration, defense manufacturing. Finally, the concept of MRTP company, monopolies restrictive trade practices company, where companies whose assets surpassed a certain value were placed under government supervision. Privatization. Privatization refers to giving more opportunities to the private sector in regulating different services. With privatization, FDI was introduced in 91. India made major policy changes. These were stagnate. There were stagnation, slow growth in the economy. To tackle, Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh introduced some major economic reforms. Privatization has a very broad meaning in economics. Everything ranges from the introduction of private capital to selling government owned assets to transitioning a private company. Very good. Some messages are coming. Let me see whether it is for us. Yeah, here in the meantime, one Navina has sent the questions that were asked to her in our South Indian Bank interview. I will just tell you here and I will also tell in the other video. Here she was asked self-introduction, strength, family background, subject-related basics of computer. Same sir asked me about my college and why my college got the name, about core banking solution, inflation, how RBI controls inflation, what is open market operations, FDI and FII. don't know only few bank related questions. Every student told the same that subject related were asked more than the banking questions. It seems they were asking more of banking related, sorry, more of subject related questions than banking related questions in Hyderabad. Yeah. Mm. If you have Zoom app, you can come. Are you coming? One candidate, she has joined for Sidbi. I am requesting her to come to the Zoom so that I can explain further things to her about this. Now we were going through this one um, economics aspect of it. How many of you are online now? Not many people. Yeah, she says she doesn't have Zoom app. She will come tomorrow, next day. No problem. And there are 5 people online. Any questions, please? Some of you who are online, if you have any questions to ask, you can ask me so that I can answer your queries. Yes, please. If you have some queries, you can ask. Some 3 or 5 of you are there online. Any questions? Anybody would like to ask some questions? Any questions, please? Yeah. In the meantime, let me go through this one. Yeah. Here we were discussing about privatization. Privatization, the ownership of all public enterprises ultimately shifts to private owners. The denationalization can be complete or partial. Organizational measures, this is where the limit the control of the state in public companies. Some methods include holding company structuring, leasing, restructuring. Yeah. Then operational measures, public organizations and companies were running into huge losses. So the efficiency of these companies was to be increased. Conceptualization of privatization in India, delegation, divestment, displacement, disinvestment. Then globalization, effect of globalization in India, then globalization in Indian economy, advantages of globalization, why were economic reforms introduced in India, poor performance of the public sector, fall in foreign exchange reserves, inflationary pressure. So these are some of the points given under this book. So I thought I can share them with you. Let this be the material for today's class for SBI, Sidbi, Exim Bank, PO interview classes. That's what I would like to tell you. Mm, yeah, maybe. Yeah. So I have no idea when the interview for Sidbi will be conducted. Let us, I think maybe 2 to 3 weeks maximum. This is what it is. So thank you so much for this video. I thought since I could not conduct the class today, I thought I should come online.